Hello everybody, welcome back to our channel Kavi Web Designs, and today I'm going to tell you all about my chapter 2, which is networking models. So what are networking models? Networking models define how devices communicate over a network. The two primary types of networking are number 1 OSI model and number 2 TCP/IP model. The OSI model has 7 layers, as you can see here in this diagram here. And number 2, the TCP/IP model has 4 layers and is used for the internet, as you can see here. So here, as you can see, there is a diagram here where it's showing the OSI model and the TCP/IP model. So as you can see here the first step of the OSI networking model is that you must get the internet physically from a switch, a router or a hub. Then you get the data, and then after that you get the internet. After that you get transport, which is end-to-end connections and reliability. And number 5, the section, that means the inter-host communication. And number 6, presentation, data representation and encryption. And then number 7, the application, network process to application. So as you can see here in the OSI model here, there will be 7 steps for you to get your application. And the first step will be using Ethernet cable. First and second step will be using the Ethernet cable. After that, in the third step, you'll get the network, which is the IP address. And number 4, you'll get the transport. That means you'll transport your Wi-Fi to your computer, making you have the network. And in the number 5 here we have section, which is inter-host communication. Number 6, presentation, and number 7, application. Now let's look at the TCP model. So the TCP networking model has only 4 steps. It is number 1, network access. That means you instantly have the network. And then number 2, you'll get internet. And then after that, number 3, transport from the internet all the way to the website. And then in number 4, the application. The application can range from DHCP, DNS, FTP, HTTP, HTTPS, POP, SMTP, SSH, HTML, and JPEG and more, and etc. So let's go to our next slide, which is the networking model slide. So as you can see here in chapter 2 we have the networking models again. And now the OSI, which is the Open System Interconnection. The OSI model is a framework used to understand and implement communication between networked systems. It contains 7 layers, each having specific roles and functions. Now here's an overview of the OSI model. As you can see here I have created a table of OSI model. So here we have all layers from layer 1 to 7. So let's first layer, which is the physical layer. The physical layer deals with the physical connection between devices, and it transmits raw bit streams over a physical medium. So what are the functions of the physical layer, or layer number 1? So the functions of the physical layer are number 1, transmissions and reciprocation of raw data bits. And let's see what is the second function of the physical layer. The second function of the physical layer is it defines hardware like cables, switches, NICs. Now the third and final function for the physical layer is it has a signal modulation. Now let's look at the examples of the physical layer. So the physical layer can be in like the Ethernet, hubs, repeater cables. So let's go to the next layer, which is the data link layer. So the data link layer ensures reliability transmission of data across a physical link by handling errors and flow control. So let's see what are the functions of the data link layer. So the functions of the data link layer are that framing, error detection and correction. Number 2, we have it manages MAC addressing. Number 3, It's flow control between devices. So let's see what is the example of data link layer. The example of data link layer is Ethernet, MAC addresses, switches and bridges. Now let's move on to the third layer, which is the network layer. The network layer has responsibility for routing data packets between devices across different networks. Now let's see what are the functions of network layers. The function of network layers are: number 1, it has a logical addressing or IP addressing. Number 2, routing and forwarding of data. And number 3, packet fragmentation and reassembly. Now let's look at the examples of the network layer. So the examples of network layer can be like IP, routers, ICMP or ARP. Now let's go to the fourth layer, which is the transport layer. The transport layer ensures end-to-end communication, reliability and flow of data between hosts. Now let's see what are the functions of transport layer. The functions of transport layers are segmentation, flow control and error control. And the second function is that it establishes, maintains and terminates connections. So let's see what are the examples of transport layer. So the examples of transport layers can be like TCP, UDP ports. Now let's go to the fifth layer, which is the session layer. Manages sessions and dialogues between applications. Now let's see what are the functions of the session layer. The functions of the session layer are: it establishes, maintains and terminates sessions, and it controls dialogues between systems. Now what are the examples of session layer? The examples of session layer can be like NetBIOS or RPC, PPTP. Now let's move on to the sixth layer, which is the presentation layer. So the presentation layer translates and encrypts and compresses data for the application layer, which is the last layer. So let's see what are the functions for the presentation layer. So the functions for the presentation layer is that data encryption and decryption. And the second one is data compression, and the third one is syntax translate between different formats. Now let's see what are the examples for presentation layer. So the examples for presentation layer can be like SSL, TLS, JPEG, GIF, MPEG and many more. Now let's look at the last layer, which is the application layer. The application layer is closer to the end user. It provides network services to applications like web browsers and email clients. Now what are the functions of application layer? The functions of application layers are that it has a user interface and interaction with application, and number 2, it provides services such as emails, file transfer and web browsing. Now what are the examples for application layer? The examples for application layers can be like HTTP, HTTPS, FTP, SMTP and DNS. So folks, this is it for today. And if you like this video and you want to support us, please like, share, subscribe to our channel Kavi Web Designs. And I hope you have a nice day, and this is Bhavik signing off.